Sorry, you didn't hear your intro, Aaron?
No, but that's okay. We can start this.
Okay, go.
Yeah. You are listening to The Age of Transitions. I'm your host, Aaron Franz, coming at you live this Friday night. Friday, March 13th, 2026, live from the facilities of Ocelli.com. Do consider going to Ocelli.com, sending a donation to help Chuck with the network, help him out. TheAgeOfTransitions.com is my website. You can support the show there. Have copies of Revolve, my book, ebook, and paperback copies, both available for Revolve. Thank you, everybody, for ordering that. And the Patreon campaign. I have been posting to Patreon, and anybody who does support on the Patreon keeps this show going as well. So thank you, everybody, for your support. Also have the affiliate links if you're buying books. Click through the link on my website that goes to bookshop.org. Anything you find there, get a little bit to the Age of Transitions for that. So do remember that. And thank you for being here. Back at it. Apologies for not being here last week, but back here tonight. Happy to be back with the Age of Transitions. And I do have the YouTube going once again. So last week was the last week, or the first week, rather, that the YouTube was back up and running again. And I'm doing that again. I even got a couple little graphics ready to go here, so we'll see what we can do with this. And yeah, we'll just see how this works. I'm kind of there's all sorts of different things. I kind of have the graphics set up pretty well for Uncle the Podcast, and I like what I've got going on with the Uncle the Podcast graphics. But with the Age of Transitions, it's gonna be a work in progress with these live stream versions of the podcast, but I'm excited to see how this goes. I got a comment from Thomas Sheridan on the YouTube channel, I think like yesterday or something. I just saw that. That was kind of cool because just a person that I used to talk to that I haven't in a long time, and they, he said hi, and that was cool. He said he gave his book, my book, rather, Revolve, to a copy of it to John Waters, the director. That's kind of cool. I don't know exactly what that means, but that's kind of interesting. So thank you, Thomas. Hope you have been well. And we'll see what we can do. I do want to start making videos again because I want to. So we're going to do that. And this is a part of that. The live streaming is really exciting. So I'm not going to get boring with all this. I'm just going to get into the show. But just so that everybody knows, little update stuff. And there has been so much going on. Perhaps regrettably, I'm going to be covering once again some news items. But I guess the silver lining here is that I've actually collected these news articles that I'm going to be referencing here. I collected them. Not this week, but the previous week. I was planning on using them the previous week, but I just couldn't make it to the show. But this week I'm going to use the same ones, so it's not new news. So that's good, maybe? I don't know. Whatever. Let's just get into this. So this first article, and all these articles I will mention, I got them from J.P. Satili's News Vandal Rundown, as I typically do. That's the news articles that I find from there. So that's shout out to JP and the News Vandal Rundown that you should check out and get your news links from him. Okay, so this first article is titled, Israel Launches Bible Study Program Targeting U.S. Evangelicals. Okay. So clearly, I mean, broader intro here before we start. We're talking about the war, right? It finally happened. Who's excited about this? The Iran war that we heard was coming for decades on end now. They're like when the second Iraq wars were happening, everybody was like, yeah, well, Iran is going to be next. By everybody, I mean everybody in the alternative media, anti-war movement, the truth movement thing that was going on in the 2000s era. One of the tropes of that time was that, yeah, we're here in Iraq, Afghanistan, we're doing the war on terror thing. And as a part of that, Iran is on the chopping block coming up soon. It's a foregone conclusion. It took a couple decades to get to it, but nonetheless, it has happened. And there is absolutely a direct through line with the war on terror and what was established at that time in the post 9/11 world, and with the war on terror and the atrocities that were happening. By atrocities, I mean not just the war, obviously that, but the atrocities domestically in the U.S. of destroying the old constitutional form of government, destroying civil liberties, the Patriot Act and these sorts of things that were going on, setting up a surveillance state, setting up, destroying personal privacy, all of these trends happening at that time, direct through line to now, and the same thing is still happening. And there's not many people connecting those dots, oddly enough. There's been a pretty effective, I believe, push to separate out these different eras that are defined by presidential administrations. That is, we're supposed to believe that the Obama administration is like some sort of insular thing, that like, the world was this way then. The Trump coming in, it's very specific to him and MAGA, and then Biden, and then Trump again. And then you could even take it back to the Clinton years. That was its own thing. So, noticing the connections over the decades is something that seems to be discouraged, generally speaking. But anyway, here's the Iran war. And it came from the the anti-war president. If you believe, if you ever believed the sales pitch that that's what he actually was. I mean, when he originally even ran for president, he did that weird doublespeak thing where whenever it was advantageous to him to pretend like he was not going to do any sort of these foreign wars, i.e. Iraq and Afghanistan, whenever he knew that he needed to pretend he wasn't going to get into any such things, he would say that. But then when it sounded better that he should be like a total neocon style tough guy and say like, yeah, I would love the opportunity to just bomb any and all countries that get in our way, he would say that too. So, there's absolutely no cohesion or logical thought going on whatsoever. But, what else is new? And people just reading into whatever the current regime happens to be and just projecting whatever it is that they want onto it. We all do that. To one extent or another. And I'll own up and say even I do that, but I'm trying to catch myself when I do. So I hope maybe you will too. But anyway, let's get into these great older news articles. This one, Israel launches Bible study program targeting U.S. evangelicals. Okay, so pulling from the title there, the U.S. evangelicals are a large portion of the voter base that was buying into these silly things I was just mentioning, that Trump can simultaneously be anti-war and pro-war. And wouldn't you know it, like their goofed up heads work the same way, where they believe that they are, the contradicting nonsense of believing that you're some sort of peace bringer, but then being completely warmongering and jumping on the bandwagon for whatever latest ridiculous Middle East war we are doing at the moment, and believing it's awesome, and that the demons from hell have just spawned in whatever country we're going over into with our military, and that just justifies it because we're going to go over there overseas and kill a bunch of demons. That's pretty much all you got to tell people, and that works. Sad but true. I'm just going to post the YouTube link on the X. Don't mind me. But anyway, the evangelicals, you know them. They're a big voting bloc. They're important only in terms of getting whatever election to go the way it's supposed to, because it's a large, predictable group of people that you can easily brainwash. That's all an evangelical is. They can believe anything they want to about themselves, and they can call themselves an evangelical, but that's what it boils down to, is you fit neatly into some propaganda target. You've targeted yourself for specific propaganda. So, whatever. Okay, what is this? Israel is launching a Bible study program. Okay, so Israel, our ally in this Iran war, by our, I mean our U.S. government military is partnered with them. We, the U.S. people, I mean, I'm not allied with it. I'm not even allied with us doing this, but you know what I mean. Pretty fascinating that the foreign nation of Israel is doing a campaign, which is clearly an influence operation, right? This is a piece of propaganda they're doing on us, our domestic population, which is a foreign population to them. They're running propaganda on us to get us to go along with, their side of the war. And once you know what, they're using religion to do this. The new initiative features Israeli soldiers, West Bank settlers, and a pastor of Messianic Judaism as key voices. So what's fascinating about this is, I just mentioned it's an influence operation. And so what? Who cares what I say if I call this thing an influence operation? I'm just some moron that has a podcast. But you know what's fascinating is that this article uses that specific language of calling this Bible study, which this Bible study thing is actually like a corporation that's set up here in, I think, L.A. It's out in California. But it is an influence operation. And it says as much in this article. So it's not just me saying that, you know what I mean? So I can, and here with the video, I'm showing you the part of the article that says that. I can't exactly read it right now, but you watching the video can probably read it better than me. There it is. So pretty fascinating that they actually use that language. It seems in a lot of articles I've been looking at lately, they're getting a lot more comfortable using terms like influence operations in the context of that's what's happening to us as a domestic U.S. population, is that we're being targeted in influence operations, which is absolutely true. I mean, I say that every week on this show. It's like, if you tried to count the number of influence operations that are being run against us at any given time, you wouldn't be able to count that high. You couldn't do it. So many from so many different sources. This one happens to be a foreign nation that we are jointly going to war with against the nation of Iran, in this case, is the enemy of us. So it's a propaganda campaign, not from our government, but from Israel's government, specifically targeting the niche target of the evangelical voter bloc. That's what this propaganda is for. And it's, just saying like, look, because of the Bible, you have to be on our side here. Okay? And it's pandering to Christians with this vague concept of Israel. Not just the country, but the actual term Israel, the it's a very esoteric concept. The concept of Israel, the New Jerusalem. These things get mentioned all the time. You see this kind of stuff talked about everywhere. And it's absolutely fantastic that that is the case, and that the U.S. evangelical has this generalized, not too specific concept of New Jerusalem. When they hear that, they go, oh yeah, that's great. That's what's going to happen. Then Christ is going to come back, and it's going to be the second coming, and, you know, Armageddon. And boy, I love Armageddon. You know, so it gets them on that train of thought. They don't have to understand what Israel means in the first place. They just need to sign on to this Bible study program where these Messianic Judaism preachers are going to tell you exactly what you need to know. And it's going to be very pro-war, I'm sure. So it's fascinating that they're using very esoterically charged language. Anytime religion pops into the equation, there is that element of it. And people get real defensive. Evangelical types and people that are highly religious, orthodox religious, are always quick to defend whatever their particular faith is as though it is free from any esoteric or occult influence. Like, oh yeah, the occult is the devil, it's Satan, it's what people who go to hell are doing, and, you know, on and on and on. Never realizing that there's an esoteric and occult side to anything of depth. And religion, where it's good, absolutely is deep. It's not nonsense. It's not all lies. Anything of value is based on some truth. And that's absolutely true with every religion on earth. There's very real, profound things being communicated through every religion. And then there's the exoteric interpretation of these religions and the use of religion as a tool for control, which is the main way that it's always used. And that's why, generally speaking, religion tends to do more harm than good. And it's just because of this. I'm not saying because it's all bad either, but Chuck, are you there? What's going on over there? I hear all sorts of weird noises going on. Are you there? No? Okay. Well, anyway. So Israel launching a Bible study. Maybe you've seen this, but you are there.
That was my covert way of trying to connect the sound back to your ear, to see if you'd notice key place sound effects, and that way we could just keep you rolling. And now I know that you could hear your intro and outro again. So that's what I was doing.
Okay.
So
yeah. Okay. So yeah. Now when you play the music, I will hear it. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Right. So it's a little pattern disruption I was trying to slip in, that if you didn't notice it at all, then that means it's obviously not working. And then for the listener, it's like, wait, what was that? Little thing to keep them on their toes. Sorry.
Okay,
I thought that was
all right.
Yeah.
It's all right.
So,
okay. Well, everything seems to be mostly working, which is definitely good enough for me. So here we are.
There you have it.
Yeah.
All right. Please continue, though. I'm fascinated by this because this is something I've been talking about for like a decade, and I don't hear too many people do it. So
you're talking about the constant Middle East wars and their connections to religion. Is that it, Chuck?
Well, yeah, I've talked about the literal on the ground in real life issue of people, preaching about this from the pulpit, and we notice certain influxes of the fatalistic, don't worry, Armageddon's coming and it's all a good thing, and we need to at all times stand by Israel because that is your duty as a Christian. A good Christian has to do that. Mm-hmm. And that teaching begins in Sunday school, and has carried through, but faces certain waves of intensity right on time, coincidentally, with actions in the Middle East, issues like that. And I've noted that throughout my life, beginning with, well, I guess it was Iranian Shah of Iran saga 2.0 in the 1970s, because the same thing sort of happened, you see. And we can go back to Mossadegh, where most people go. But previous to the Mossadegh regime change in Iran, there was a Shah of Iran who is the grandfather of this guy who's running around now. That grandfather, and Shah means king, just so you know, in many languages, but Arabic is also one that's useful. Shah is king. Well, the king of Iran was deposed by the people, and they gradually got to a point where they installed a secular government. That was Mohammed Mossadegh. The British and American intelligence assets said, can't have that. And they made sure to have regime change there, where they got rid of Mossadegh. And we know that story because it leads later to the installation of what? The Shah of Iran 2.0, which was actually the son of the other Shah of Iran. And that guy ends up in America hiding from his own people because they wanted him returned to Iran to face justice when they overthrew him with the leadership of guess who? The Ayatollahs, right? The mullahs, what have you. And that became the great enemy. But at all times, it's like the United States is constantly involved in this cycling of various regime changes in Iran. And it seems to me as though by the time we get back around to trying to reinstall another Shah, everybody forgets about the secret police that murdered and tortured and disappeared individuals in the population and literally terrorized the people that we installed this guy over to get them away from the bad people in the first place. And then what results from it, once again, a different sort of puppet who is, you know, not secular, certainly completely, you know, what do we call that when governmental organization is based on a religious order?
Theocracy.
Theocracy, okay, and that theocracy is meant to replace the secular and is also meant to replace the puppet king who is always educated in the West, et cetera, who is our other puppet. We put that guy in to terrorize the people in a different way until it's time for us to do what? Change regimes again. And it's like a square dance.
Yeah.
And that's been my point the past 10 years. It's like witness the square dance and how they utilize the evangelicals and weaponize their own religious beliefs to say, listen, we need to support the nation state of Israel because that is the same as the biblical Israel. And therefore, you must stand with them. Otherwise, you lose your soul. Kind of a tough contract. You can't, you know, the offer you can't refuse is right there. You want to worship Jesus? You're doing the right thing. You want to go to heaven? You better not even speak against Israel. And it begins there. And then we see it resonate in the news, etc. And meanwhile, we're doing this square dance with Iran and regime change. Yep. And, you know, there are pieces to be put together there, Aaron, and I'm listening to you put them together, and I love it. So that's my interjection to give you that context and background that I guarantee what you have to say now and what we're going to have to discuss in real time and what a whole lot of people are not facing in any media circle, whether it be the the widely syndicated, often not duplicated, but completely replicated corporate entities or the alleged independents or the morons who got themselves a YouTube channel. It doesn't matter. Hardly anyone will face what it is you are, you know, conducting a vivisection of on the Age of Transitions tonight. And I just want you to know it's appreciated. So there you go. I interrupted your show, but I gave you content, and we're going to go to 10 after, by the way, just as a note. And phone calls will work during Uncle and everything, so we should be all good.
Sounds good, Chuck.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, very good. Thank you. All right. Yeah, well, there you go. That's a good backdrop for these continued articles I'm going to keep referencing here. Because, yeah, that's the situation. It's like we're always involved over there. And, yeah, somebody comes in, they're overthrown by the CIA, and we can go in there, we do the regime change and all that. So I think most people who are up on this know the basic history of that. But here we are. We're back there again, and we here in the States are just continuing to do a good job of putting a target on our backs for the algorithms to sort us into different propaganda categories. That's what's going on. So we're all doing that. And again, I'm no better. I too have propaganda created for me. So if I am acting like I'm better than the evangelicals, I don't want to be up on too much of a high horse, so I will put that out there. But the evangelicals, if you believe in this vague concept of a new Jerusalem in Israel, that's just a way to exploit you, as far as I'm concerned. But on to the next article. This one is titled, U.S. Troops Were Told Iran War is for Armageddon. And it's going to bring Return of Jesus. So, oh boy. So fitting into the same theme of the second coming of Christ, this general concept of, the book of Revelations of Armageddon and the different sects and different branches of Christianity that celebrate this as something that is a wonderful near future event, not only to look forward to, but to kind of exalt and be excited about. Like, yeah, the Armageddon's going to be great because Jesus is going to come back. And yeah, all sorts of terrible stuff is going to be happening, but that's good. And so, if we got to bring about a bunch of terrible stuff, let's do that because it's for the greater good. So again, that generalized concept that's been placed into the minds of so many people over so many years now is once again being exploited by this generic propaganda that's being thrown our way to support this war at the moment, to get us on board. And this specifically is the troops that they're sending over there to fight the war. Somebody's got to do it. It's not going to be Donald Trump Jr. going over there or any other such person. It's going to be just the usual suspects of normal, poor people that don't have any other option than to join the military. And if you're going to join the military, you may as well believe in what you're doing. So this is from Jonathan Larson's Substack. I'm not exactly sure who that guy even is. I feel like I recognize the name, but that's what this article is from. U.S. troops were told Iran wars for Armageddon, Return of Jesus. In this article, it mentions how Hegseth actually hosts weekly White House prayer breakfasts, and he's long had support for Israel. So, I mean, his form of Christianity is well known. He wants to be a new world crusader, and his tough guy aura of the warrior, the master warrior that has to come in and rehab the entire Pentagon by getting them off their lazy butts, exercising, and being better killers than they previously were, being better warriors. The warrior ethos or whatever this garbage is, and it ties into his messianic ideals, his insanity. So, yeah, of course, we're still talking about Christian end times eschatology, which is the general concept I was talking about before, is that this has been implanted over so many decades that it's good that Jesus is going to come back and all sorts of horrendous things are going to happen because it will make Jesus come back. But the story here is that, let me actually go to the link and read from this article a little bit. Okay. A combat unit commander told non-commissioned officers at a briefing Monday, and this was from March 2nd, dated. Okay, Monday, that the Iran war is part of God's plan, and that President Donald Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth, end quote. Combat unit commander told non-commissioned officers this, apparently. And this was according to a complaint by a non-commissioned officer. This is the source for this information. From Saturday morning through Monday night, more than 110 similar complaints about commanders in every branch of the military had been logged by the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. Okay, so they tracked 110 of these events happening, where they're saying generally the same thing to boost morale of the troops. The complaints came from more than 40 different units spread across at least 30 military installations, the MRFF told me, Jonathan Larson, Monday night. The MRFF is keeping the complainants anonymous to prevent retribution by the Defense Department. Come on, it's War Department. What are you doing, Jonathan? The Pentagon did not immediately respond to my request for comment. Okay, I think that's all we need to read from this. So basically, there's a slew of complaints. It's the same complaint that this stuff is happening. So we could sit here and say, yeah, but like the source, you can't trust it. It's probably just they're BSing it. They got like 110 of these stories coming in. I mean, come on, this is happening. Now, if the little details and things like that, a pattern has emerged, and quite frankly, I absolutely believe this has happened. I mean, what makes you think that this would not be going on now? And that this foundation that tracks this stuff has gotten so many complaints. It's the same complaint. I mean, it's happened. Okay, so let's not even bother with that stupidity. The point is that they are getting the U.S. military amped up on the same Christian eschatological hype train. And actually, that's unconstitutional and illegal to be using religious messaging within the military like that. You're not allowed to even do this. It doesn't matter. I mean, what does any those sorts of constitutional rules even mean anymore? They don't mean anything. None of it does. And so you're just going to go with what you've established, and we know what Pete Hegseth has established with the Pentagon, is that we're fighting a new holy war, and that we're real tough. We're the world's toughest tough guys, and we're going to save the world and pave the way for Jesus to come back. So that's what Iran is about, okay? You don't really need to know anything else. That's enough. Certainly, if you're a troop, you better not know. If you're one of a soldier or an airman or a sailor or anybody, if you're a Marine, a jarhead, whatever the case may be, as long as you know that Jesus is coming back because of what you're doing, that's all they want you to know, okay? And it's crazy. I mean, do we need to do the aside here? I think just generally speaking, I have never served in the U.S. military. I'm not a veteran. But the ones that I have known, the ones that were in the old Iraq war or Afghanistan or any of those things that were happening in the 2000s, the general story to me and my observations and knowing people seems to be the same, is that the average enlistee in those war on terror war theaters was amped up on the post 9/11 propaganda saying that we got to go kill the terrorists and restore freedom. That generally most of them believed that, enlisted, thought that's what they were going to do. Then when they go over there, they learn the truth because they see it with their own eyes. And you got to be thick as a brick to not see the truth right in front of you. So they find out what the actual truth is because they have to live it, which is horrible. Then they come back and they become very disillusioned. And, it's not exactly like Rambo First Blood, but, similar, where they go, I was used, exploited for a lie. And that happens to a lot of people. And I guess this is the new wave of military men that's going to happen to, presumably. I don't know. It hasn't happened yet, but, we can only assume based on past patterns of them being lied to and exploited that the same future will come of it. But anyway, let's go on to this next article. This one is titled, Cyber is the Fuel for U.S.-Israel's War on Iran's Islamic Regime, expert says. This is from jpost.com. This is an interesting article right here because it gets into the changing landscape of war, generally speaking, and of course this being the new giant war that may be the true beginning of World War III, but we won't talk about that right now. The point here being that the battlefield has changed. The world has changed because of what? Because of technology. because we live in a digitized digital world now, or at least there's that digital overlay of everything. And so cyber is the fuel for this war. Some of the key points I took from this, cyber operations have moved from being on the periphery of modern conflict. This is a quote from the article, I believe. They've moved from being on the periphery of modern conflict to a strategic center, cyber operations. And they are likely helping to shape every military decision in the American-Israeli war against Iran, known in Israel as Roaring Lion and in the United States as Epic Fury. Every decision in this war, cyber is informing upon, bare minimum. According to Shay Nachum, CEO of Cyght, that's CYGHT, what a clever name, Cyght, right? According to Shay Nachum, CEO of Cyght and recipient of the Israel Defense Prize, cyber warfare is no longer just a parallel domain of war, but a core layer that is critical in shaping intelligence, operations, and even psychological influence campaigns. Now, in this context, you have to assume that the psychological influence campaigns would be the ones that they're running against the Iranians over there as, targets in this war. And certainly they make no bones about that. Yes, they do that. What's been the big taboo over the years when it comes to influence operations is that they only occur on our enemies abroad, and that they are not ever directed at the U.S. population itself in order to, for one, get it on board with the war. That has never really been admitted to in the past. It's always been this weird taboo. And there was also a word, which I'm struggling to remember what it is. They didn't use influence operations. They didn't use propaganda. They would, they had like a specific word that they would use to cover for it, actually. And I wish I could remember what it was, but they would always like break that out and be like, yeah, we do this, but that's not really anything. Okay. It's not propaganda. It's not influence operations. We don't do that to our own population. Come on. But I mean, come on. That's what's been going on forever. Anybody with any sense knows that. But beyond just that, we do have to realize that psychological influence campaigns are a constant, and they're being fueled, much like this war as a whole, they're being fueled by cyber and technological infrastructure, giant databases of online activity, algorithms, AI systems that run through these data sets in order to sort things out, things such as potential targets for different influence operations. Oh, this guy is going to just love the Israel's new Bible study program. Let's send him the email. It's a prime candidate right here. And we know because of why? We know because of cyber. We know everything this guy is into. So he's going to be probably right in line for this Bible study program, sponsored by the nation-state of Israel, brought to you by a weird corporation based out of California. Sounds like some sort of liberal sort of thing, doesn't it? It's out here in this evil blue state of California. Deep blue California, home to Chad Bianco. That's what I always say. It's real blue out here. You never see a MAGA sign here. You never see anything. Everybody's super progressive out here. Okay? But anyway, I'm just trying to make the point with this article that it's right. This title, I mean, it's all in the title. Cyber is the fuel for, and we'll scrape out the U.S.'s and Israel's war. Just read it as cyber is the fuel for war. And lumped into war is propaganda influence operations, psychological influence campaigns, which are everywhere. Getting us to be on board with wars, but more than that. Much more than that. It's in so many different avenues of life now, and we just have to constantly remember that. We have to constantly, I think that's all the sole point of this show at this point, is just me reminding myself and the listeners, like, look, we got to keep remembering to look for these things. It's almost all I ever talk about now, but it's for a reason. Okay, so that's enough of this article. I think we got what we need to out of that. The next one is titled The First AI War, How Algorithms and Data Are Reshaping the War with Iran. This one comes from ynetnews.com. So Ynet Global. So this one has quite a bit. I pulled a few quotes here. I'm going to read them to you, the things that popped out to me. So U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, is applying Project Maven, announced in 2017, and integrating the use of large language models in this war effort. So I do remember Project Maven. I think we've talked about that a little on the show, not as much as we probably had ought to, but it's the use of LLMs by the Pentagon, basically, for war efforts. So they're doing it. CENTCOM is doing this. The United States is not alone. Israel, according to foreign reports, also used AI systems this week known as Habsora, which translates as the gospel, and Lavender. It's the other system, Hasbora and Lavender, the gospel and Lavender, which helped identify and locate targets in Gaza over the past 2 years. So, just more religious terminology to describe these different tools of war, in this case, LLMs, AI systems. At the same time, the Financial Times reported this week that Israel hijacked into nearly all traffic cameras in Tehran, with their footage transmitted to servers in Tel Aviv. From that point, it was possible to automatically track the movements of bodyguards of senior officials who arrived at the house where Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed last Saturday. AI-based algorithms analyze details such as their duty schedules and commuting routes. So all of these spy devices, these digital surveillance devices, were used by foreign sources. The U.S. and Israel were spying on the foreign nation of Iran in order to pull off the assassination of the Ayatollah. So, proof of concept there that they can and do that for war purposes. We know all the other ways that this same stuff is used against us, but it's absolutely being used in war. Similar stuff was going on in Venezuela, too, with the Maduro thing. There's all sorts of crazy digital surveillance business going on with that one. So it's just the norm now, all this. This is the world we live in, a world of digital surveillance for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a civilian, a military target, or what have you. It doesn't matter who you are. You can and you will be surveilled for whatever the purpose at hand might be. Okay, what else we got? Operation Roaring Lion is also the first in which the IDF's new AI division, known as BINA, is operating. Established only a few months ago and headed by a brigadier general, the division consolidated most of the military units previously working in the field. Okay, so IDF is Israeli Defense Force. They have an AI division, and the name strikes me as very interesting because it sounds like Bina or Bina. I forget the exact correct Hebrew pronunciation. I think it's Bina, but that's one of the that comes from Kabbalah. It's the Sephirotic tree. I want to say one of the three main Sephirah is Bina. I forget exactly all the everything to do with that, but I believe that's what's being referenced here with that name. I might be wrong about that, but just more esoteric religious stuff being infused into this wider story for whatever that may mean, right? The confrontation with Iran has effectively become a live testing ground for Western AI technology, But China is also preparing for a future war in which victory will not belong to the side with the most tanks or aircraft, but to the one with the fastest and most effective algorithms. Okay, so there you have it. I mean, it's definitely debatable whether this current conflict is a start of World War III, but it definitely may be. I mean, to think that it definitely isn't would be foolish. If you believe that this is just going to end tomorrow, you're insane. They keep talking about this Iran war on the news, like, oh yeah, it's like it's going to end next week or something. Like, yeah, Trump is going to do this, he's going to do that. Like, now that you're there, it doesn't just end. It's the same thing that happened with Afghanistan, which, they were complaining about previously, that, oh, we went out of there after 20 years and nothing happened, blah, blah, blah. It's like, look, this is going to be happening for another 20 years. You know that, right? So them pretending like that's not the case, I don't know what they're even doing. I don't know how dumb they think we are, but it's pretty stupid. But yeah, and this just being, that's very exciting. This being a larger part of, the world stage and events to come in more wars or a broader war, the same war broadened out to new battlegrounds and new countries, and hell, maybe even here in the U.S. if we keep doing what we're doing. It seems like what we want. But it's all okay because Jesus is going to come back, right? He's going to come back and save us from ourselves. I don't think we deserve it,
we'll
but
just say
I think that's the general idea behind this, if I'm following the messaging. And I hope I'm not. But a lot of things going on here. I think the main takeaway here that I want to convey is that the online battleground is the global propaganda matrix. And that's where the real action and the real important battle has been going on, will continue to go on. Now, coinciding with it, there's more and more, as each passing day goes on, actual physical battles corresponding to that, which is really horrific and terrifying. And this Iran war is that. And it's awful. So that's going to continue. But really, as these articles keep saying, the main battleground is cyber and the digital space. And it's being empowered by digital surveillance tools, big data, large language models, and new emergent AI systems. So this is the age of transitions. It's happening within the context of a world war scenario. We wouldn't have it any other way, would we? It's not just, the transhuman paradise of let's develop technologies that enable us all to live forever and genetically modify our offspring. Although if we're living forever, what's the point of having offspring again? Like, we're genetic engineering ourselves. We're genetic engineering babies. How many babies can we have if everybody lives forever? So it's not that confusing mess of transhumanism. It's a completely other one. It's the more familiar, established, confusing mess of United States empire, yes, but it's a failing empire. Of that we've had to live within our entire lives, and all the BS excuses they've consistently thrown at us with the old methods of propaganda are now being upgraded with these algorithmic systems targeted specifically to niche audiences via these digital means, these cyber capabilities that everybody has. It's not just the military that has these things. Everybody has access to this stuff. And so if anybody wants to exploit you, they would be stupid not to use this stuff. And they are. They are doing that. This is the world. This is the global propaganda matrix that we're in. Get used to it. Not changing anytime soon. We have to learn to adapt one way or another. I'm not happy about it, but it's just the way of things. So, no need to sugarcoat this insanity. I also find it fascinating that influence operations are being openly discussed as they relate to the U.S. population. That seems to be moving from the taboo that we were talking about before. It's becoming less and less taboo all the time, which is absolutely fascinating to me and horrifying at the same time, of course. But that's something to note. That's something noteworthy that has changed over time. That dialogue is morphing, and I find it fascinating. There's also, in this below, the possibility of different false flags, specifically done under the cyber banner and cyber attacks, as I've constantly said, are almost foregone conclusions. It's a matter of when, not if. And using such things to manufacture consent to go along with the war, that sort of stuff could definitely happen. And hell, if we really want to put the tinfoil hat on, let's just go for it here at the end of the show and do that. Our glorious leader, the world's foremost badass, toughest guy on earth, we all know who we're talking about. This guy, as far as I'm concerned, has fallen out of favor, not just with the domestic population. Everybody hates him now. His approval ratings are in the toilet. Nobody likes him anymore, not even his old followers. There's still some there, but he's losing ground where he typically was holding strong. But I also do believe, I don't know this, but I believe that his actual financial backers, the people that put him where he is, don't like him too much either. And if they could, they'd rather him not be there, and their chosen golden child, J.D. Vance, would be preferable, to say the least, as their go-to guy in power. There's all sorts of weird little details, actually, when it comes to Vance, if he were placed into the presidency directly. How the Iran thing would shape up would possibly change, because he has done a lot of the anti-war aspect of the MAGA movement, of at least pretending to genuinely say, like, look, these foreign wars in the Middle East, they got to go. So he has been, as far as he's been involved with Trump, consistent with that, although this is also a guy that will just on a dime turn and say the thing that he needs to say in the moment. He even more so than the actual president now, who does the same thing, but Vance does it at a whole nother level even. He does it at the level that he absolutely knows what he's doing. I think the Mad King in place now is like still kind of out of his mind. He just knows how to work the crowd, but he doesn't really understand the ramifications of what he's even doing. So when it comes down to it, he's a dunce. But Vance is not. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's calculated. He knows what to say, when to say it, and he has been told by his masters what to say, what to do. This is the plan. Make it happen. He is the golden child of the technocratic oligarchs that want to take control of our country. Their designs for the world, I don't know. But their plan for taking over the country is to destroy it, oddly enough, because they've gotten what they need from it. So they just, what they need now is for the rest of us to go away. And so, the whole manufacturing consent on whatever the next thing is likely to happen. And if Strongman himself keels over, it's a good thing for them. I have said that. I've been saying that. I consistently will keep saying that and believe that. And it might even be to the extent where, one of these manufacturing false event sort of things goes into the realm of just sweeping that guy aside. I don't know if they need to do that, but wouldn't put it past them. It seems like previously they've just been waiting for old man to keel over, but maybe they'll go a little further than that. I don't know. Doesn't really matter to me either way. Either choice is horrendous, but Vance is worse, to be honest. Vance is a worse option as a leader. And it's what we're going to get. It's almost, I mean, it's not absolutely certain, but I'd be surprised before this particular set of 4 years is up that's not the situation. But maybe old guy will last a little longer than it looks like he should. That's definitely possible. It happened with the last old man. Maybe it'll happen with this one. Who knows? But fascinating events going on. Fascinating world, ever-changing world. A world in transition, an age of transitions. A world at war. Perpetual war. Perpetual war. That's the par for the course. It's just like this thing. It's just like this thing right here. This is the thing. It's like that, the tank. And perhaps, if we're lucky, we are like the tank man. We have our little shopping bags. We're going about our daily emergencies, getting the stupid tasks of the day done, like always. Got to do the important stuff every day. Well, sometimes something so even more important gets in the way of our everyday lives that we have to go stand in front of it, possibly to get run over and flattened. We may find ourselves at that point at a given moment in time. So that's interesting. Or we may just go about a boring existence, just doing what we're told and doing what we're supposed to and hoping everything will go away, and it never does, and not doing anything. That's probably more likely of an outcome for life, generally speaking. But maybe if we're lucky, we'll get to stand in front of a tank one day. Wouldn't be that bad. I would do it if I had to. I don't know if the situation will arise. Probably won't, but if it does, you all know what to do and when to do it, I hope. Maybe this show will help you out a little bit. And it's like a pep rally. The Age of Transitions show is a pep rally for whatever the Age of Transitions ends up being. We know it's a digital control surveillance state where billionaire tech magnet maniacs are in control of everything. And they want to sow chaos in the streets so that everybody is at each other's throat while they go retreat to their luxury bunkers and just wait everything out. Situation looks like that they want to have happen. So we'll just see. I really hope that doesn't happen, but I know they want it to happen, so we'll see. It just depends on how good they are at making such things occur. Hopefully not that good. Be a test of the true test of these highfalutin cyber capabilities, right? Just how far we can go with these things. They're little fantasies that they want to live out. But anyway, you have been listening to The Age of Transitions here on the Ocelli Radio Network Friday night. Please stay tuned because the Uncle Show's coming right up. So don't touch that dial. TheAgeOfTransitions.com. That's my website. My name is Aaron Franz. As always, I will leave you by saying, Seeker, seek on.
The Age of Transition.